First thing I want to do is apologize that it's taking so long to get videos out to you. There was a lot of interest in the first couple of videos in the bus. You know, life happens. Got a lot going on. As you can see, I also moved the bus over in the storage unit to make space for other projects, but we're getting back on this now. If you remember correctly, in the first video I introduced you to the bus, which I've nicknamed Percival. Go back to find out why. Then in the next video we worked on the front, wet sanded, polished everything. I even ceramic coated it off camera. We'll see how the ceramic coating reacts to this rusty, tarnished finish, but that'll be an experiment long term. First thing I want to do is a genuine cold start, an authentic cold start. This bus has been sitting for 3 weeks-ish. Battery tender is not connected. So we will find out in a minute if there are any parasitic draws on the battery and if it starts. This bus has been sitting for 30 years, roughly, maybe a little more, doing not much. I have tuned the carburetor. I've done some basic work in the engine compartment, timing, screwed with the vacuum advance. So I'm confident it will start, but we're about to find out now. All right, here's our starting procedure. I'm gonna pump the gas twice, just to reset the choke, make sure we're in neutral, which is always fun because this is like stirring a pot of porridge. Let's go. We have battery light. Oh yes, it runs. I also want to show you my cool invention. This is a rubber hockey puck, practice hockey puck, found for cheap on Amazon. And it works awesome as a door check for the Samba bus doors. If you're an expert in these, let me know. Do they stay open for your bus? My bus, they just swing closed all the time by themselves. So that's a handy little trick to keep the door open. This is where we left off. If you remember, I've been telling you for the last few videos that the next project here is to wet sand and polish this paint, which is not original, but very old. I guesstimate it was resprayed in the 70s, maybe early 80s. Let me try not to get shadows. I'm still learning. Then we have this pretty terrible half respray that was part of the repair work for the floors. We have all new floors, which I'm very happy about. They were pretty rusty. So we got a solid structure now. But as part of that job, the metalworking shop resprayed sort of halfway up. I'm not sure why, because I don't think there was any repairs done on these doors. I know there was repair done in here for rust, and I think back here for rust. So we are going to sand a layer off, kind of like a giant scratch off ticket. Peeling layers of an onion back. I know that when we get back here, we're gonna find Bondo. We're not gonna get down to this color paint, unfortunately, but we're gonna do it anyway. I know what's going to happen because, to be honest with you, I worked on the other side of the bus off camera to practice. I wanted to see what I was going to get into when I filmed this, and we have good news and bad news. The good news is that on the other side, I'll show you in a second, a sneak preview. This paint cleans up really nice, similar to how we got it on the front. Very smooth and glossy, so I'm confident we can fix this. What happens under here is, where there was no body work done, we can actually sand this off and get back to this, and it cleans up pretty good. But underneath, there is some, let's call it flaking paint, old bubbles, where it goes down to little brown primer spots. It looks like acne, it looks pretty terrible. And we found a pretty horrible sandblasting diagonal line. I'm going to give you a quick preview. Let's take our door check out. So, like I said, it's pretty glossy, this old blue paint, but we sanded down to Bondo here. It's very smooth, very nice. And then we have pretty terrible looking bodywork and this strange line, which I assume was from the sandblaster when he worked on the bottom of the bus. I don't mind this look too much. I mean, it's not ideal, but it looks like authentic patina from decades of use. This, I'm not so sure about. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I actually bought this paint from Home Depot, which is, let's call it better than what was put here, but not quite right. I did a little test spot on here with it, and it just turns out too bright. I might use it to cover up some of this rust after I put rust converter down here, just to sort of make it blue again, or turquoise, as VW called it. Anyway, that's not going to work like I thought it was. I was hoping it might. For now, we're going to leave it. I'm really happy that we were able to sand off all of this terrible darker blue paint. Let me take a minute to explain that. This color here, is mixed off the original paint code, turquoise blue, L380, I think is the code. So this is actually what the color of the bus is supposed to be. At some point in its life, my great uncle who bought this bus brand new, I've told you 100 times, had it resprayed. It's like a lighter robin's egg blue, which actually looks pretty cool. I wish that it was the original color because this would make my life a lot easier with this repair work, but it's not. So this is going to take a long time. I know from the other side, working on that, it was days and days and days of sanding. I learned a lot. My test spot that I did here originally, this was literally by hand with a little sanding block and 1500 grit sandpaper, working it back and forth. And then I was thinking, we're just going to do that over the whole thing. And I can do that, but it's going to take days and days and days. So we got way more aggressive with a DA polisher, with sanding discs. I actually went down to 800 grit just to get through the majority of this. As Marcellus Wallace said in Pulp Fiction, to get medieval with it. We get very aggressive down here to remove the bulk of this and then come back by hand and do some finish work. I'm going to start up here with you and show you what can be done with sandpaper to remove this. Behind here is going to be ugly. I know that for a fact. We're going to find out on camera with you. You're going to stay along for the ride. If you're interested, this could be more boring than watching paint dry, watching paint come off. But maybe you learn some techniques. Maybe I learned some things. I've got some questions for you VW experts as we go about some things on this 23 window Samba. But let's get into it. Let's start working here. All right, let me show you what we got going on here. This is a very easy piece for me to fix. See this little triangle of paint there? You can see the body shop taped it and just sprayed. Didn't put a lot of effort in. This is called a rid stick. This is a small one. This is what seriously high-end detailers use to wet sand scratches out of paint, or sometimes use a bigger one with a bigger piece of sandpaper to flatten orange peel in paint to make seriously smooth, seriously glossy finishes for show cars or really high-end cars. We're using that technique, but slightly differently, slightly more aggressive. We just have regular water in a spray bottle, pre-soaked sandpaper, and then you just get to it. You go to town. I know the pros, if they're watching this video from those high-end detail shops, will be watching me laughing their head off at this. But if you keep going long enough, it starts to come down. I can tell you now there's going to be a ton of time lapse in this video because it's just so tedious to watch. That's why I'm showing you on this little tiny section. Here we go. I made a mistake already. You can see I'm already through the paint that we're trying to get to. On this vehicle, it does not matter. It just adds to the patina a little bit, but I need to be way more careful. The paint here is obviously very thin. On the other side, where I've done this already, the paint must have been much thicker because this hardly happened. But I'm not going for show car here. I'm going for patina restoration. Okay, what happened there was my iPhone storage filled up. This is an ongoing problem I have, working with my personal phone to film these videos and manage storage space. You might have noticed I got a microphone, so hopefully the audio is much improved from my first two videos. I'm investing. I'm taking this YouTube pretty seriously. Okay, so I switched to 1200 grit from 1500 grit to be a little more aggressive. Like I was saying, this is very tedious work that you're not going to want to watch the whole thing. So I will cut and jump around between steps of this. But I just want to show you what's possible here. Now, here's where we get very aggressive. And I'll show you what happens if you just start working. And if you sand like this long enough, you will get down to this color, which is what we're trying to do across the whole bottom of the bus. Like I said, I know that back here we're going to get to Bondo. We're not going to get to paint. But as Bob Ross would say, that's okay. It's okay. Not great. Not great news. I need to decide whether I'm going to go all the way to white for this whole thing, or maybe just sand this down and try to blend the blues a little bit. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to pack things up for today and come back on another day to continue this. I'll show you how we're going to use power tools, or DA polishers, I mean. The lights just quit. That's my sign to go. Next day, not really the next day, it's a few days later in real life. But I've been thinking a lot about how I want to continue this video without making it too boring. This is a lot of sanding, a lot of the same angles of the bus. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to start by taking off this lower trim. It's just going to get in the way, plus I need to clean it up and get it ready to put new red insert in there. And then we're going to just use the DA polisher on here with some 800 grit sandpaper. I want to show you in a small section how we just get rid of most of this paint before we wet sand by hand to try to get back to some of this finish. We're going to find out what's underneath this together. That should be interesting. But the first thing I actually want to do, while I have your attention, if there's any air-cooled VW experts out there, this is a really stupid question, but I'd love to know what kind of screws are supposed to go in here. All of the metal tin work around the engine is flathead screws, and I've zoomed into so many pictures on Bring a Trailer of old buses, and these screws are always different on every bus I see. So I would love to know what's supposed to go there, if anybody knows. Flathead or Phillips? And also, is it, when they were new, were they painted? Were they painted body color? I don't know. Also, voltage regulator. I've seen them mounted up here. I've seen them mounted on top of the generator. I've seen them mounted to the fan housing. Mine is screwed right to the floor. Where are they supposed to go? Did Volkswagen always change them around over the years? What's the story? Let me know. All right, now let's get busy down here. Hopefully this pulls out as easy as it has on the other side in one piece. Oh, look at that. We have incorrect Phillips head screws down here. That bums me out a little bit. It probably means the screw holes behind there in the body are too big. But anyway, we can hide this with the new red, Titian red insert. As you can see, I've got some cardboard and old shower curtain down here. That is just to soak up some of the blue slurry that comes off of the bus as we're wet sanding. I'm trying to be respectful of the landlords here and not stain the concrete floor blue. Keep it clean. There it is. Lower rocker panel molding. Metalworking shop. Obviously wrote that on there. So now we're venturing kind of out of the world of detailing and into the world of bodywork. But we have an old Griot's 3-inch dual action polisher. And a Rupes, same as the front when we worked on that a few videos ago, a Rupes foam interface backing, an 800 grit sandpaper disc. These are Amazon cheapies, only because we go through so many of them. If we tried to use the fancy expensive stuff, we would just be wasting money. But watch this. We get super aggressive and we just sand through the majority of this paint before we come back by hand.
sound. Just give me a shout. I'm stuck, holding on, trying to let go is another song. Feels like if I did, I would do it wrong.
You get the idea, right? We hit it with the DA, and then we come back and finish by hand. And then in some of the areas here, I'll use even smaller sandpaper and just try to get the finer details. But as you can see here, we're starting to get into some trouble. This is what I expected to happen. We're pretty lucky. Most of this blue is actually here. We'll see what happens as we continue backwards, but so far so good. We got some good robin's egg blue under there. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to stop recording for a while and just start to get some work done. And I'll bring you back for any exciting developments. So there we have it. This is as good as it's going to get for now. I'm thankful that a good majority of that mismatched paint came off the doors. And at the back, it's not pretty. I know that. But as I said, it's a lot more acceptable than having those hard tape lines. We're going to leave this paint down here. I know what's under there. It's white primer. There's no point in sanding it. This section also gets hammered by stones from the front wheel. So I'm going to leave this on here for a little bit of protection. This sort of looks like artwork. We made some art here. We framed it with some white primer. That's as good as that's going to get for now, too. Off camera, I wet sanded the entire side of the bus, first by hand with 1500 grit sandpaper on a large sanding block. Then I came back with 2000 grit on a DA, 5-inch DA, and then finished up with 3000 grit on a 5-inch DA. And these are the sanding marks you see left behind by that wet sanding process. It's scary, it looks dull, it looks scratched up, but it's going to polish out. It's going to get shiny, I promise. I'm going to show you that process now. I'm going to start with a coarse wool pad and some coarse compound and cut it down. And then I'm going to follow up with a medium yellow foam pad and some finer finishing polish. And my plan is to polish the crap out of this gas door and bring it back to the color that we're working with, and take the gas door off and bring it to a paint shop to scan it with a camera and see if we can get a paint code or a paint formula. I want to try to get some paint mixed for an aerosol and maybe a little bit extra to put in an airbrush. I've never airbrushed before. I don't even know if I'm going to attempt this, but it's an option. Maybe I can airbrush some of these spots. Can't get any worse than it already is. But let's start polishing. I need to wrap this video up. Let me show you this process. I'm going to start here on the door and try to show you a little before and after. Okay, there's the first step. We got a lot of gloss I'm gonna have to come back and do some finish work in the edges with smaller polishers and in the door cup. What happens with the single stage paint is the pad gets absolutely clogged full of residue. You gotta clean it often, clean it well. Got a whole bunch of pads to work with, which helps save some time. But for the next step, I'm gonna come back and go again with a softer foam pad and some polishing compound and show you again. Yellow foam, P&S Rehab. Let's go. All right, guys, I know that was a long video. I hope it wasn't boring. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. There we have it. That was about 4 or 5 days of wet sanding and polishing and work. I also finished up here. I wet sanded the white, removed all this trim, replaced the Titian red insert off camera. I actually did it for Instagram and on a YouTube Shorts video, which you can watch. A little bit of ASMR. It's pretty cool. But yeah, here we have it. It's ugly, but I like it. And that's all that matters. What do you think? Patina preservation or full restoration? That is the question. I've got a little bit more to do. I'm probably not going to film it, but we have to do the back. I stopped here at that body line, so we still got the back section to do. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We managed to get some of our robin's egg blue back from underneath. I know it's not perfect, but I like it. Last question for the experts. See this trim ring? I'm missing one. But the question is that an original part? I don't know if these were added later. They're very old. They look original. I can't find any part numbers on them, and I can't see any restored buses with trim rings like this. And I'd love to know the answer to that question. Are they original? Again, thank you for watching, everybody. If you made it this far, I know that was a long and tedious video. I'll make some more exciting ones in the future. We're going to get into some regular detailing work on some other vehicles and set the bus aside for a while. Like and subscribe if you can. It'll help me a lot and it motivates me. Thank you very much.